My biography graduated ACA, Sociology, then OEC Academy, Politics and Security. We have been talking about, last presentation was bottom-up, the same as today's presentation will also bottom-up to speak up for the common people, what their expectation. Topic of our presentation, local perceptions about implications of the Eurasian Economic Union on food security. Director of our research project is back to Canada, and she would like and we would like to thank Cassie and the USA for providing financial assistance to conduct this research. The final report is still being in the process to be written by the end of November. However, today's presentation will give you a bit information of what you can expect on this final report. This is our research team. And I would like to give floor to Shumkar Nadiv, my colleague. Please.
Today I'm going to tell about our aim of the research. So the aim of our research was to understand the impact that Kyrgyzstan's accession to the customs union would have on the food security in Kyrgyzstan. So at first we believe that it's useful to measure and evaluate where things are and what people were on food industry were anticipating on the eve of accession, and in order to have the basic point to understand future expectations. We began our interview in December, in the end of December in 2014, and we continued gathering data till the end of July of this year. And the significance of our findings was that they established their starting point for identifying not on the abstract but with the actual cases. For instance, our findings was about how people or what people know about customs union, about the standards and regulations of customs union, and where did they get or where do they get their information. And this kind of information was founded, and it was all about the food security. So the first question was, what is food security? According to FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient safe food to meet their dietary needs and food preference for active and healthy life. Among the measures that need to be adopted in preparation for Kyrgyzstan's accession to the customs union is reorganization of the agriculture and agro-processing sector. Reorganization means the major reforms in the markets, in the food products. So first, it has to ensure compliance with requirements laid out in the framework of customs union agreements. Then second one is to enhance the competitiveness of food products in customs union markets. We believe that these two factors, whether it's considered separately or in tandem, would have effect or impact on this availability and profitability on producers. As I said, that we conducted semi-structured interview with business of the sale and resales of food in Osh, in Bishkek, and in a school. And also we conducted 329 surveys in all with these business sellers. And then we conducted the same semi-structured interviews with farmers and agronomists, and we conducted 75 surveys and 19 semi-structured interviews.
Yeah. Thank you, Shumkar. Findings from the semi-structured interview with the government, ministries, business association, and distributions. Let's see findings from the agriculture sector. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, now there are 357 private household units need to be consolidated. This is one necessity. Then goes some. From the sector of the association says some amendments have been made to the land code in order to assist with consolidation of land, but in reality there is no consolidation. Land code is existing, but in reality it isn't fulfilled. It is in need to shift the growing wheat. Instead of growing wheat, we should change to the vegetables and fruits. If take into account Kazakhstan and take into account Russia. It is necessary to rebuild irrigation system. The same with the collapse, the irrigation system also was ruined and changed. So would we need to rebuild it again? Volume for production in the agricultural sector is too small for custom union states. Kyrgyzstan is unable to provide in a huge volume. Preparation for the agricultural sector. Land, this is the wordings from the Ministry of Agriculture. Land allocated for the cultivation of the perennial grasses such as lucerne and as per saffron has increased to almost 35,000 hectares. To increase the level of livestock available to export the meat. So this is the expectation of the farmers to make an export of the meat. Then we need transport logistics centers will be required, says the Ministry of Economics. The state needs to official, and this is the interesting part from the association of the vegetable and fruits producers. The state needs to officially acknowledge the importance of organic agriculture to the state. So there was a question about what the target of the Kyrgyzstan economic profession for the customs union to produce. Could be one of the arguments from the respondents that Kyrgyzstan cannot provide customs union with a volume, but it can provide with the quality. As the employment has told us, when border was open, Kyrgyzstan was open, sold the milk, and it was just written milk, nothing more because people used to like it because of the quality, about the cleanness. So, realities of the agriculture sector. We can't become a second Switzerland. We cannot compete with the new technologies. We acknowledge it. We need to define and keep our niche. We can process our ecological products, but we cannot compete based on volume. We are a small mountain state, which will also take into account. Organic products should be grown only on a small farms, as actually Kyrgyzstan are. We have only small 35,000, 257,000. Our organic products should be grown. So, as you increase the area, the quality goes down because you don't take into account so deliberately for your production. That is why, if we want to have an ecological good, we should use it in the small volumes. Prices in Kazakhstan and Russia are 3 times higher than in Kyrgyzstan, and even though farmers currently pay customs and they prefer to sell it outside rather than to sell it in an internal market, it's also interesting for the food security issue. Anticipated effects on prices. This is the expert from the association who is saying, custom unit doesn't limit import, but it just raises price. Kazakhstan distributors will increase price for the Kyrgyz distributors. As we know, food comes from from Russia, Kazakhstan, and to Kyrgyzstan. And Kazakhstan distributors will increase the price to avoid the re-export of the goods back to Kazakhstan. Another distributor says, Russia will protect its market and of course will impose its prices on us, on distributors. These too will increase prices and affect the cost of living in Kyrgyzstan. Changes to customs duty for Ukraine products means that these distributors will have to refuse to get the food products from the Ukraine, and they will have to find out this goods from other members of customs union. It will make a change of their work. Belarus wants to fill. This is the Minister of Economics. Belarus wants to fill the market with sugar. Oil is supplied by the Russia and Kazakhstan. These products will be imported at a lower price. Let's see. Not all processing sector. Interesting part, not all entrepreneurs are able to confirm to hospitals from the beginning of the production till the end when the consumer gets. This is the requirements of the customs union HASP, which our producers very less likely will be able to confirm. Many agriculture processors do not own premise rather than rent it. They don't have own buildings, so by not having own buildings, less likely they will be able to get the credits. After 2-3 years, there will be mass elimination of those companies that do not comply with customs union's regulations, because they also difficult to observe. This is the statement of the producers. Meat producers will not be able to confirm to HASP required because the problems with the raw supply, and then goes next. Kyrgyzstan doesn't have single certified slaughtery unit, which is one of the requirements for the customs union for those which produce that meat, which is more likely that the meat won't be able to go alive, so to say, but won't be able to process it here, but go outside. It used to be before, and now. Laboratories. From the state standard, laboratories do not check for content of melanin or GMO. Statement from the producers. To ensure meat security, it has to be tested for 70 types of antibiotics. In Kyrgyzstan, we test only for 5 types. Chemical reagents for other types are not available. And we are getting meat from the China, which is not tested safely, only safely. Distribution sector. We have small shops, small selling points, and Russian distributors less likely will be interested to come to the Kyrgyz market and fulfill this work here. And then goes a concern of the distributors. We still don't know what will happen to bazaars. Russia closed its all bazaars in order to reduce its shadow economy. What situation will we have? This is the important question for the distributors, because this is their specialty. Why they are special to work with it in the local context rather than Russian distributors will come up. Kyrgyz Russian Development Fund, we have heard about it, so let's see. Fund will work like any other credit done. This fund has lower interest rate and longer terms. This is a statement from the Ministry of Economics. In comparison with the overinflated interest rate of banks, the rate will be less than 10%. Then statement from the association. Of this association, they say $100 million is supposed to be allocated to the agricultural sector, but it is clear that the money will not actually be used for these purposes. Many want to apply this statement from the Minister of Economics, which is saying that many want to apply to the fund for their project proposal. However, this is the business sector. However, the purpose of the fund is institutional unclear, and because its producers proposes it's difficult to understand, approval for funding of project is difficult to obtain. It's hard to get or to apply for the fund to get the credit from them. The private sector feels there is a weak level of preparation. They do not propose projects in compliance with criteria demanded by the financial institutions. This is one of the justifications from the Ministry of Economics why some of the applications may not be accepted by the Kyrgyz Russian Development Fund because of improper preparation of the required documents. Transport logistics centers will be self-sustained. Why important for the Russian Development Fund? Because transport logistics centers will be able to provide payback of the credits in short term. However, the rehabilitation of the irrigation system less likely will be supported by the fund, and it is more likely is on an issue to discuss with the China to pay for to provide the financial resources to rebuild the irrigation system. So this one is not coming to the interest of the fund because it's long-term payback. However, the fund is interested in a short-term payback. But on one side, we see that it is important for the agricultural sector to rebuild the irrigation system.
From the interview, we found several information, and our interview guide was structured to understand the general conditions of farming, in what kind of conditions they are working, and the issues farmers face, some kind of problems they face during the farming, and what kind of supports do they get from government, or they get credits, and found that in most of them has lack of information about the custom union, and we gathered rich data, but here we'll share about a few perspectives of this data. Further, you'll see in our final report that in all regions, information about Eurasian Economic Union standards seem to be either inadequate or completely absent. Most of them don't know about the standards and requirements of the production. And yet farmers in all regions have some sense about these standards, and farmers didn't have specific details about new regulations and standards of production. They seem to have some sense of potential risks while accession to the custom union. They are anticipating about the changes of this custom union, and despite these anticipated difficulties, most farmers were optimistic about the EU. And here are our findings from surveys. People's anticipation and attitudes. First, we conduct survey and interview from food shops, small selling points. We see that most of them in Bishkek, their response were huge rather than in other regions. Here you can see the findings.
So already we can see that Russia, we already consume the products from the Eurasian Economic Union, except Ukraine and China, Turkey, that will be excluded or excluded already.
Changes in the land of was introduced in Kyrgyzstan in order to let people organize big enterprises in agriculture. Second, what is the impact of rising prices of imported food from outside of EEU on the level of consumption and income of Kyrgyzstan?
Second question one more time.
What is the impact of rising prices of imported food for domestic budget of Kyrgyz people?
Domestic.
Yeah, it will make effect regarding second question and impact for the domestic people. First of all, it's expected the prices will increase on 20%. The prices will increase on 20%. This is expected because it's based on experience of the Kazakhstan. This is the distributors of from the sector of distributors stating with the work of their colleagues that the prices has been increased. The same is expecting for the Kyrgyzstan, for the common consumers. The price will increase for 20%.
And what about land code?
About land code, it was done before, but however, I don't exactly ask this question from the Minister of Agriculture, but it was done by importance to consolidate the land, but people and they themselves don't interested in it, what is also interesting aspect. And the government didn't provide any effective work for the consolidation of land itself.
Any other questions? So I have just two small questions, or maybe three. Let me start with two. I mean, I'm sorry, but in your presentations, okay, we understood you had these semi-structured interviews, surveys, and if I'm right, you had some opinions from what you call government and people who are rather on the top, but you also worked with farmers. What I would like to know a little bit is a sort of a comparison, you know, between, even just between the discourses and expectations on the side of what we can call Kyrgyzstani officials and on the side of the people who... And the second question, also a very simple one. I think you started your research project before Kyrgyzstan became really a member of this Eurasian Economic Union, and before sort of you worked on people who were expecting this to happen, and your latest interview take place when already some changes are happening. Is there a difference between, I don't know, what
Thank
you encounter in the field, even if, I mean, whether we think of the field as being in a village in the Isyk-Kul Oblast or here in Bishkek? Just...
So it was two difficult images. From one side, the discourse on the media about the profit of benefit of the customs union for the agricultural sector from the ministries, and the image that we see when we are talking to the farmers. The perception of the farmers that what they expected before, for instance, May and July. In a May week, we entered to the customs union, EEU. Kazakh borders are open. In July, we're talking to people and they're complaining why borders are still closed. Our products are ruining. We can't sell it. The prices has decreased. There's no point to produce these products. There was a complaint that ministry should be working. They are talking that it will be benefit. The Ministry of Agriculture is too big, but they don't fulfill their work properly. If they would fulfill their work properly, they would already come to us to inform us, to teach us what to do and how to prepare this. We don't get any information. The ministries should be divided, should be not concentrated on Bishkek city, but should be divided on the regions and work directly with the people, and not saying only statistical information, but see the reality with which we are struggling. And at the beginning, the distribution sectors, as example, would say, nobody knows, and they say, why we are conducting this research now? Because this research, government had to conduct it before to know our anticipation and perception. Now everything is decided, and we don't know what will happen, but let's see what will happen. This is kind of the perception of the common people. Yes. Maybe more questions?
No one is interested in food security in Kyrgyzstan.
And it's also, yeah.
I was, okay, just one more question and we will close and we will have a coffee break. Maybe after some coffee there will be some questions on this fascinating topic. I'm interested if what we, I don't know, if ordinary people, or I mean, if farmers, for instance, were disappointed with, I don't know, the government promises about what this Eurasian Economic Customs Union will bring to them, was there sort of a translations of this? Was this disappointment reflected in some ways in the very recent parliamentary elections, or? I mean,
it's kind of outside.
I mean, if there are so many small-scale producers in Kyrgyzstan who are disappointed because what the government promises never happens.
You mean whether it's linked to the recent election event?
Yeah, I mean, does this disappointment also has sort of a, I don't know, does it take shape politically and people in their vote?
Really, it will be hard for me to answer on this question.
You didn't carry a survey on this.
Yes, otherwise I would give you an answer if I had a survey.
One example is the bees, kidney bees from Talas. Right? Recently it's all been very politicized because Talas region has become specialized in growing these beans. And year after year, when everyone grows those beans, they cannot sell it at a certain price. Main target, however, for them has been Turkey, for some reason. I think at the beginning Turkey promised and then bought large amounts of their produce, but then recently whenever they meet with Turkish relevant people, they ask for non-tariff or otherwise facilitated export from us of these to Turkey. I wonder if the Eurasian Economic Union will be any target for that. I mean, in my observation, there was nothing. Kidney beans was a problem. It had nothing to do with the Eurasian Economic Union. It was all just Turkey and somewhere else.
It's like a kind of, it was like a separate issue, you mean?
Well, people didn't even imagine that
This
if
is
we are a food producing country who hopes to export these produces to Russia or Kazakhstan within this new customs union, it doesn't sound like people are seriously paying much attention to that. It's just at the level of words, but mostly they don't realize that this must be a possibility.
Yeah.
By the way, what does this question mean? Kyrgyzstan farmers don't have enough capability to export to CEU countries? What do you mean by this capability?
It doesn't have any potential. I mean, the quality, product, processing, all these requirements that are under the customs union, EU. Kyrgyzstan cannot fulfill all of them, whether the Kyrgyzstan is able or not to export to the EU. And this is the answer. Let's say Kyrgyzstan farmers don't have enough. So people agree that Kyrgyzstan is not ready and has no capacity to make an export to the EU countries. This is the point of view, if I'm not mistaken, from the merchants.
But you also say that many of them were complaining that they are not able to export. Where the goods are lying and they are coming.
This first question is about the producers. We don't have factories. We cannot export processed food products. And about those one who cannot send, who is complaining, is those from agricultural sector who is just export raw materials.